Hello and welcome back to another week of Recovery TV. On today's schedule we have a story of recovery from Phoenix graduate Della, Reconnection, a short film from last year's Recovery Street Film Festival, an insightful discussion with some of the brilliant Phoenix staff tackling addiction within our nation's prisons, and lastly, a trip back to Shipley Park as we interview both some familiar and new faces about the fantastic things going on with the Recovery Through Nature scheme.
Thanks Harry, it looks like we've got a great collection of informative videos to look forward to. As usual, please make sure to leave us a like and follow our social media channels to stay up to date with Recovery TV. Everything Phoenix Futures related and even on how you yourself can get involved with Recovery TV. Anyway, it's time for our first video and here's Della, a former Phoenix graduate and current volunteer, to tell us about her own story of recovery. Over to you.
Hello, I'm Della. I'm an alcoholic. I'm currently in long-term recovery with approximately 2 years sobriety. A few years ago, I was hospitalised through alcohol abuse, and whilst I was in hospital, a lady came onto the ward and handed me her card. I actually used that as a bookmark, to be honest with you, at the time. So pleased I kept it now, of course. I was obviously sent home from hospital, but do have further ongoing treatment regularly due to the damage I've done to myself. However, I eventually realised that I needed help with the ongoing demons, with the drink side of things. So I found this card again and gave the lady a call. Her name was Carla from Phoenix Futures. She agreed to meet me and to do an assessment. I felt so comfortable. I was worried about being judged, but so unjudgmental, it was unbelievable. From there, I started to attend alcohol groups, support groups, a couple of times a week, which helped me with expressing myself, expressing my feelings, as I was around like-minded people who were obviously also in roughly the same boat. Everybody could share their experiences, how they felt on a daily basis, where they were at, and yet again, no judgment, which is the key, really. I'd got to the stage where I'd lost everything material and was on the verge of losing everybody close to me, basically. Phoenix then actually offered me the opportunity to go to SHARP, Action on Addiction. It's a non-residential rehab in Braintree. It's a 9-week programme. Now, that was the most valuable thing I've ever done. I left there with my confidence renewed, my self-worth, and with the tools to get me through the rest of my life, basically. Don't get me wrong, you still have to work at it, but once you are taught the way through, then it is possible. It seems like it isn't at the time, I know that. However, from there, along the way through the programme, we were visited by several organisations for our ongoing life after the programme had finished. Now, one of which being Futures in Mind, I initially attended a volunteering skills course that was run by Annabelle. She's terrific, by the way. She is, to this day, she's my coordinator and has guided me through my volunteering opportunities. I now befriend people, which she has edged me towards with advice by just being there, basically, at the end of the telephone, helping me with the paperwork, etc., because there's always that involved. So I'm befriending people at the moment, which means speaking to them, maybe over the telephone or meeting them face to face. I can show empathy and share my experiences with confidence. I've been through it. I've experienced perhaps not exactly the same, but what they are experiencing, especially with feelings and everybody around them. So I find it beneficial. In a selfish way, it helps me too, because I feel like I'm giving back, and what I'm helping them with is valuable, not just to them, but to myself. It's volunteering has given me structure and a meaning to life. It's a totally different direction to what I used to do. I won't recap on that because I've done that, and now I'm just looking forward. I've also had the opportunity ongoing to facilitate alcohol support group meetings myself, the same sort that I actually used to attend. So there again, I can share with the group, I can express empathy, etc. And I find that beneficial yet again for myself as well as the other people. All of these are new experiences for me, but I wouldn't swap my path now for the world. I've done various other things. Sharp, the actual rehab establishment, they've actually asked me back a few times, quite a few times, to give recovery talks to the new cohorts, which in a way is quite flattering as well. All these new experiences are just built for a better, happier, safer life for me and my family. I'll be eternally grateful for these organisations, especially for Carla, who initially dropped her card off in the hospital for me when I was at the bottom. When people say you've got to hit the rock bottom, that's where I was. And everybody else along the way who I've met, who've helped me, who have guided me, signposted me, and Annabelle as well, who like I say, she's my coordinator. And weekly, things are just improving for me.
Della, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And for anyone else who's only just joining in, welcome to Recovery TV, the official broadcast channel of video content gathered from across the Phoenix Futures community. Our second video today is Reconnection, a short film submitted for the Recovery Film Festival in 2019. Let's have a watch.
My name's Paul Norton McElderry. I'm 34 years old and I'm a recovering heroin addict. My drugs history started when I was 13 years old, smoking cannabis. By the time I was 16, I had 2 children in my own flat, and that's when I started using cocaine. This went on for about 10 years. By the time I was like 26, I was having to take diazepam blues to help me sleep. Just before the Christmas that year, I got squirted with acid and I lost my right eye. That's when I started using heroin, lost contact with my kids and stuff, and everything was really doom and gloom for us. This was up until my last relapse. I started working with CGL and started doing like regular meetings, smart meetings, and getting support off different people. And that's what started to help us on my road to my recovery. Well, since I've been going to the smart meetings at CGL, I was meeting lots of people who are in recovery, and they had been like in recovery for 2 years. I'd never seen anything like this. Everyone I'd been associating with in the past, them were all into how to get around the system, how to cheat the drug test. People in these meetings are totally different. They're the ones who are telling us, like, look, I'm clean, I've been clean for 2 years, I've been clean for 3 years. I'm sitting there thinking, well, if them can do it, I can do it. And that's when I started getting hope for myself, thinking, look, I can do this, you know. When I started going to the smart meetings, I met a few people, and them were telling us about a place called George Street in Newcastle, which I'd never heard of. And I went along there and started new recovery connections along there. There was people in there. It's a big place. It was really nice. I had a look around in that, and it's a nice place, and it's somewhere else for me to go. It's the next step in my recovery as well. My recovery connections with my family is much better. Like, I've got support from my mum, my children. I'm seeing my children regularly. I'm seeing old friends who I used to know off the estate who are now speaking again. Well, there's a story with my gran. I've been very close with my gran from being young. Obviously, when I got addicted to drugs, lost contact, didn't speak as much. She wouldn't let us in the house. But since I've been making my recovery and getting better, she's now let us in the house. I sat and had a couple of teas with her and that. We're really starting to try and build a relationship again, and that's what I want to do with my family. This time is different because this time I believe in myself and I'm going to do it this time.
Great stuff from our director, Cullen Bannock. You can expect many more creative short films based around recovery in this year's Recovery Street Film Festival, which due to COVID-19 is going digital for the first time. This year's theme is based around isolation, and filmmakers have been tasked with tackling films with a time limit of only 60 seconds. I can't wait to see what inspiring and creative content comes our way. Check out more short films on the Recovery Street Film Festival YouTube channel, and make sure to give them a Google for more information about this year's festival and how you'll be able to attend. Next up, a first for Recovery TV, as we look at how Phoenix Futures tackle addiction and recovery within prisons. Here's Pam and Stacey to tell us more.
Hi, my name's Pam. I work for Phoenix Futures in a prison setting. We see all of the guys that come into the prison. We see them all within 3 days of entering the prison. And what we do is we're a voluntary service, so if they wish to engage with us, we will do an assessment with them. And within that assessment, we identify their needs and what it is that they need to work on, their specific issues. So out of that assessment we'll develop a care plan. So they will get a copy of their care plan so they understand what work it is that they have signed up to do with Phoenix Futures. So we do one-to-one work with the guys, or we do group work as well. We have a CSMS team and we have a recovery wing. So the CSMS is when the guys are on a script, which means they're either on methadone, Subutex or Espinol. And we support them with that, and if they want to reduce on that, then we will support them with that. So we have 3 dedicated members of staff for the CSMS side of things, and they work specifically with the guys on a script, and they're based on the wing as well, so we are easily contactable. They can just come, knock on the door, and we can go and have a chat with them. On our recovery wing, they cannot go over there. We have 36 beds on the wing. They need to be not on a script to go over there. We have 2 group rooms on the wing so they can access group work, and that might be on motivation and change or relapse prevention. We are a client-led service, so any issues that the guys come up with, we can support them with on a one-to-one basis, as I said before, or in a group setting. And as we've got a dedicated family worker, she also does group work as well with the guys.
Hi, my name is Stacey and I work for the Family Service for Phoenix Futures in a prison setting. So I work with family members of those on the Phoenix Futures caseload. So I'm based down in the visit centre. When people want to come in, if they've got any issues relating to the person that they've come to visit, or they might have substance misuse issues themselves, I'll work with them and support them through that in time for their loved one's release. Before COVID, I would be down in the visit centre welcoming people that came in for their visits, but since March visits have stopped, so most of my client contact has been via the phone and by email. Visits have recently started again, but they're not the same as they used to be. We've got limited numbers coming in and we're having to use measures in place to prevent the spread of any virus. A lot of my referrals used to come from the guys on the wings, but I've stopped going around to the different wings now. So each time a new person comes in, I'll send them a digital message and they can contact me that way. I love my job because I'm based in the visit centre and I get to see family members of the guys that my colleagues work with on a one-to-one basis, and that's really important if it's the family member's first time visit, as I know that it can be quite a daunting experience. I like to put them at ease. I also do one-to-one work with my family member clients, and it's really useful that I can set up community support for on or before the day that their loved one is released, so I know that that good work will continue. Building family relationships is really important. There's a lot of emphasis on the notion that having good relationships upon release is really, really good for reducing relapse and for reducing reoffending. So it's a really good thing to do. So the family service at this establishment has been in place for the last 2 years. In that 2 years, I have set up and run a family day for the guys on the Phoenix Futures caseload and their families, and that was really successful. I had some really good feedback from that. Unfortunately, because of lockdown, we haven't been able to run the family days, but I am hoping to get one of those up and running as soon as this is over. In addition to that, I do family groups for the guys that we're working with, so that they can kind of do the work that I'm doing with their family members. They can be learning about it too, and that's really important. And like I said, when lockdown is over, hopefully I'll be able to run those groups again.
So obviously since COVID, the last 3 to 4 months, the job has changed slightly. We are still seeing all of our clients on a one-to-one basis. The only thing that's really changed actually is the group work. We haven't been able to do that obviously because of social distancing. As part of the Phoenix Futures service, we also have peer mentors. So we have 2 full-time paid peer mentors, and we also have a voluntary peer mentor on every wing, and they are there on that particular wing to support the guys that have got any issues. They're there just to talk to listen. They can refer to our service if they need to. So I've been in this job now for 11 years and I absolutely love my job. Every day is different. Working with the clients that I work with, it's great to see them progress. It's great to see them empowered to be able to help themselves, to get ready for release. We can also, we've had a really good success rate with referring people to ongoing treatment. So for example, a rehab facility where they can continue their treatment if they need to.
Now, our last video today takes us back to the familiar Shipley Park with familiar faces Mark and John as they tell us about the brilliant Recovery Through Nature scheme run by Phoenix Futures, as well as interviewing one of the residents that is currently going through the scheme to aid their recovery.
Hi everybody and welcome to Shipley Park, a somewhat overgrown Shipley Park to be honest. Since the lockdown we've unfortunately not been able to have service users here, and myself and John Hall being predominantly the only people here, this was just too much for us to handle, especially in light of the dig for victory. Now let me introduce you just briefly to the land and how it became. This is 1882, the local landowner, one of the Miller Mondays, Edward to be fair, he passed away and his wife, who was a dowager, had this property built for her to get out of the hole basically. Now it's a 13-room property. Originally it was known as Sunflower Cottage. However, she thought it was too small, only being 13 rooms, so moved back into the hall.
As you do.
As you do. So this was given to the gardener. Now it is alleged that the gardener haunts the place to this day. And back in 1940s, somebody was residing here, a Mrs. Egan, and she was saying that the lights would go on and off, and when she retired to bed, the lights downstairs came on. The next morning, it's alleged that she said, "I wish this ghost would start paying the electricity bill." So quite a comical lady in light of being haunted.
Have we got some other ghosts here as well, Mark?
We have. We've got the girl in the well, which we'll go to the well in a little while. We also are supposed to have had a headless horseman riding along the pathway to our right, and also it is alleged, but no evidence at all has been put forward, of a lion or a big cat of some type that's supposed to haunt the area.
And have you seen any of these ghosts while you've been here on your own, Mark?
Absolutely not, and I tell you what, I wish we had, especially the gardener, because he might have done some of this weeding for us, but unfortunately not. So anyway, what we want to look at today is we're just giving you a brief run through on where we are here, the dig for victory, our future plans, and how we're looking at wildlife havens or wildlife pockets within the Shipley Park project. Okay, also looking at eco-friendly ideas such as moss gardens, etc, etc. So over to our right we did start our wildlife garden. Now the wild gardens have flowered, there are some lovely flowers there already, however,
nice shot of a bee there, I think,
nice
Mark.
shot of a bee there, John, well done. But primarily you can see it's overgrown with grasses and nettles. However, in the slow return of our service users, as things become better and better and the lockdown eases more and more and more, we will get on top of this again and make these little wildlife pockets like for your damselflies, etc, moss, caterpillars, butterflies. The only problem with that is, especially with our Dig for Victory, is it can cause us a little bit of a problem, especially with us being organic. However, we seem to get on top of that as best we can. We expect some losses with our crop. It is inevitable when you're organic. It is the way it is.
And what sort of pesky critters have we encountered?
Well, so far we've had mice, we've had pigeon, we've had caterpillar and butterfly, greenfly, little pesky thing.
Rabbits.
Rabbits.
Squirrels.
Yes, squirrels. However, we have noticed that we have also got here some wildlife that's more of a predatory standing, such as we've got some stoats, and the stoats do tend to control the rabbit population. As sad as it sounds, this is wildlife and this is the way it works. There is a video we hope has managed to be uploaded to this project so that you can actually see the baby stoats playing in the woodshed that I managed to take a couple of weeks ago.
And are we going to look to encourage those stoats, Mark?
We certainly are. Certainly going to encourage as much wildlife as we can here, and as we develop the project and we work alongside organisations such as Derbyshire Wildlife Trust, we can actually develop little pockets and little areas and encompass a lot of diverse wildlife in the
Excellent.
project.
And just to add to that, we're going to look at our remote conservation work for our partner agencies as well. We've been doing some of that here, haven't we?
We certainly have. We've been growing all sorts of bits and pieces for various, like the Woodland Trust. We've got some black poplar trees, very rare species tree. They've been grown by us basically from cuttings, and we've got really quite a viable range.
And
of
the
these.
black poplar, I seem to remember, are from Lee Valley in London, aren't
They are from Lee Valley in London. Thanks for the reminder there, John. And also we've been doing things for the John Muir Trust as well. We've been growing, which I cannot remember, but
Aspen.
Aspen. Thank you very much, John.
Aspen, bucket loads of aspen.
And out of all the wild seeds that we've managed to put out and grow, these have been the most successful, and they'll in turn be sent back to the necessary organisation, necessary areas.
And I think we've got some oak for the National Trust.
For the National Trust, absolutely. Definitely got some oak for them. They've, unfortunately, one of our little pesky pests, which was the squirrels, decided to nibble all the tops off them. However, we moved them, we protected them, and they've now come back on really well.
I seem to remember when we found that out, there were a few Anglo-Saxon expletives, weren't there?
There was one or two that were thrown around.
Gosh.
Gosh, yes. E by gum was a Yorkshire one, I remember. So yeah, absolutely. So anyway, we're gonna move on now, because what we want to do is now show you some of the areas that we've been working on the Dig for Victory or the Counter COVID cultivation projects, which have been really beneficial. It sort of kick-started, as sad as it sounds, it really kick-started a massive growing project for us. So we had to look beyond just our service users here. We had to look more nationally and how we can provide food for a lot more people. And we have grown a lot of things here, and there's a lot of stuff in on the project at the moment. We're also looking at succession planting. We're going to be harvesting potatoes today, which unfortunately probably won't be on this video, but we'll be looking at our first potato harvest and our succession planting thereon. So if you want to...
and if we have surplus, Mark, am I not mistaken in thinking we're going to donate that to food banks and food share programmes?
We certainly are. I managed to speak to one of the head honchos up in the Trussell Trust, particularly for the Derbyshire area, and they're very keen to take any surplus from us, which is a really good sort of partnership working for us to get involved.
Anyway, Mark, I was just wondering whether there's any statistical evidence that supports how successful RTN has been.
Well, over here at Shipley Park, do you mean, John?
Indeed.
Absolutely. Well, last year alone, from April through to April, I kept, or to end of March, should I say, I kept a spreadsheet on those that have joined, those that have been referred, etc, etc. Now, we had 109 referrals from the community services for people to come and join this project, of which 62 actually joined the project. Now, some of them fell by the wayside because of winter, no shelter, etc, etc. But out of those 62 people, as I say, some did disappear off and do their own thing because they were a bit cold or whatever. We had 21 people successfully discharged from services through that. We've still got people that are now substance free that are still on the project and not quite discharged. We had, I believe it was 13 of those, or was it, no, 11 of those, I do tell a lie. 11 of those actually found employment or volunteered with either ourselves or with other organisations. One of them did find employment with us, okay, and the rest of them decided, the other 10 people decided they would go off and do their own thing, substance free. They had other plans. But we're still working on everybody else that's still with us. We've got approximately about 30 people still on the list, We're still working with those to get them to where they want to be, and more people are welcome. Hopefully they again will join those statistics as for a substance-free life.
And I'm sure, Mark, that's replicated up and down the country, all the way from Fife all the way down to Essex.
I'm quite sure it is.
The power of RTN, the power of the environment, the power of producing something positive and tangible, and the social aspect as well, just creating that simple, enjoyable, safe learning environment. So hi James, you volunteered very kindly to have a chat about your experiences on Storth Oaks Recovery Through Nature programme. So could you explain how you think it's benefited your recovery?
It's benefited my recovery in the fact that I'm getting loads of fresh air. I'm working as part of a team. We're producing vegetables that we can eat, so there's that, and it's completely different from being indoors, in that a completely different view of right living, if you like, in that we can see what we're doing on a daily basis as the vegetables grow.
And is this something completely new for you?
No, I'm a bit of an amateur gardener myself, and I do a little conservation work at home where I come from in Suffolk. So I think the other team members look at me as a kind of leader, and that's new to me as well, giving direction. So it's totally challenged me in a big way. It's improved my self-esteem, my self-worth, in a very big way. I'm doing things I didn't think I could do.
That's great. And you've even survived working with Mark Bolton, haven't you?
He's one of the nicest men I've ever met, actually. He's very engaging. He makes it easy. He's got loads of knowledge, which is all very helpful to all of us. And he can hold a conversation with any man, anytime, anywhere. Yes, he's lovely.
And what's been the tastiest bit of produce so far?
The lettuce. And the strawberries. Yeah, we made a cheesecake the other day with some fresh strawberries, and it was divine. And the lettuce we've been eating every day this week in salads, and it's gorgeous.
And everyone seems to enjoy that. Everyone gets a shot at that.
Oh yes, yeah. Everybody gets a chance in the kitchen. Everybody gets a chance in the garden. So they're both ends of the food chain, if you know what I mean.
That's great. And once you've finished at Storth Oaks, are you going to continue doing something such as this?
I am. I'm going into woodland conservation, even with the Green Light Trust. I've been working with them as a volunteer a few days a week, and I hope after this time has passed that I'll be going back there, and hopefully they'll give me a job full time.
That's great, James. Look, thanks ever so much, and good luck for the future. And just to say thanks for all your fantastic efforts here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
And sadly, that's it for this month's Recovery TV. As always, thank you very much for tuning in, and a massive shout out to all those that got involved in today's broadcast. Please make sure to leave us a like and follow our social media channels to stay updated with Recovery TV and everything Phoenix Futures. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye bye.